the spike of neurotransmitters in men's brain, they get released when they see something beautiful. They did the same study with women. And what do you think they saw? Nothing. It was not until then when they saw a huge spike of neurotransmitters when women were talking about themselves. They have to be in a certain depth. Men just don't know how to trigger real attraction. The attractionness level between men and women are completely unbalanced. We tend to feel safe with people that understands us. People think that you have to agree with women all the time. You don't have to agree with them, you have to understand them.
What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel, and welcome to another episode here at the Audacity. Today, I have two special guests on the channel. The first is Michael Lee, aka Mr. Silk. He has an academic background in communication and behavioral science that he has been adapting practical methods in the dating scene. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you?
I'm good, Pearl. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So today we're going to be having, a general conversation about men, women, and relationships. So to start the show, I thought a good question would be, what do women want in men and relationships?
Well, I think it has been a lot of misconception out there today, because when we look at the Western world and what men think women want in relationship, it's mostly about passive value. That is not what I believe. Is what women want today in relationships.
Can I have an example of what a woman would disqualify and what a woman would say yes to? How do we tend to disqualify men and deem them as not normal?
The spike of neurotransmitters in men's brain, they get released when they see something beautiful. And those neurotransmitters are directly linked to attraction, sexual attraction, bonding, and love itself. And when men trying to behave normally, which is almost impossible when you feel something like that, women can see that instantly.
I guess, how are your beliefs different than what they believe in terms of what women want, what is attraction?
So there have been a lot of research made in this topic, and specifically now in the later years, we have been able to use neural imaging, also functional MRIs and so on, to really measure the release of neurotransmitters, to really determine that the theories that have been studying since 1950s is actually valid today. And what we have seen now, for example, is that when men are seeing beautiful women, their brain releases strong amount of neurotransmitters strongly connected with attraction, sexual attraction, bonding, and love itself. We're now talking about dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, and oxytocin. They did the same study with women. And what do you think they saw? Nothing. Almost nothing happened when women saw beautiful men. Okay. Also, when they saw men, they also experimented. They wanted to make it more complex. So they actually put men in powerful positions. Like men that were not only handsome, but they look like they are in a high status area, such as on Earth, for example, like they are a doctor, they are someone who will be successful in the business industry and so on. And yet, it didn't trigger them much. The only thing they saw was a small release of dopamine. And that was an indicator of interest only, that she might want to know more about him. But there was nothing like how men felt when they saw something attractive. Harvard made a very interesting study, Harvard University Cognitive Lab. So what they did was to measure the neurotransmitters release in female brains in communication. So they actually did it in two ways. One way was when women were listening to something very interesting. An interesting storyteller, an interesting joker, like a comedian, and so on. And what they saw in the female brain was a small release of dopamine, almost the same as what they saw in women when they saw beautiful men. Not so much happened there. But then they made vice versa. It's like we're asking the questions to women instead and let them talk about what they think about things and about themselves in depth. It was not until then when they saw a huge spike or neurotransmitters in the same way as what men saw when they saw beautiful women. So we could replicate that effect when women were talking about themselves, but have to be in a certain depth.
I noticed in men that work in more, rough fields where they're not really around women, it's like a learning adjustment as they get older to say things in a different way so we don't get offended, or it's more palatable, or we answer questions more, whatever.
Yeah, so here comes the tricky part. Is that in order to be able to communicate in this way, that actually trigger the neurotransmitters in women, we have to take things in depth. And that is what communication skills comes in. And my main advice are professors from universities in communication, basically, and people that work in professional fields and so on. And what we have seen here is that no one knows real empathetic communication skills unless they are schooled. So what happens when we have a bunch of men out there in the society that don't know how to communicate in a way that triggers attraction in women? What happens then? Well, the attractionness level between men and women are completely unbalanced. And I remember you saying one time that, women don't bring so much to the table in relationship, basically. So if we look at it objectively, yeah, you might be right. They don't do anything. They just exist, right? But if you're going to look at the brain and how the attraction and those neurotransmitters getting released, women being pretty, being attractive is enough for that kind of feeling in male brains. So being yourself in that state is not very helpful. So being yourself is actually more about learning how to communicate in the way that you want to communicate. Not until then can you be yourself. And I used to say that if you really want to be good with women, you have to be much more yourself than you've ever been before. And you have to be authentic. And in order to be authentic, you need to inject curiosity in your mindset. So instead of focusing about you, about what you are doing, how cool you are, and what you want in life, you have to shift it over and make it about her instead. To be really curious about what is going on in her life in depth that goes beyond just the beauty that we see. Not until then do you have the right mindset to alter the behavior that can support that mindset. And now we're going into real interpersonal communication skills that I believe guys need to learn in order to be themselves more than ever before. To be authentic is nothing that you really get born with. You really have to learn to be yourself. I mean, most of my clients, they are not someone who want to go with polygamy or something. They just want to find a girlfriend and be with an attractive girlfriend, and they're happy. But the truth is, it's like they just don't know how to be themselves, how to be authentic.
Can you give me an example? Like what, listening on a deeper level would mean to a guy?
I guess. So where are you at the moment, Pearl?
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago, okay. So if I ask you this question, what do you think about Chicago?
I like the summer, hate the winter.
You like summer, hate the winter. You know what? For example, let's say that I've been in Chicago, and I would say you know what? I like Chicago, but only on the summertime because I don't like winter in general. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, when you say you like the winter and summertime, start with summertime. When you say I like summertime, what do you actually mean?
Well, the summers in Chicago are hot, but they're not stupid hot like in the South. So it's just a nice atmosphere. There's Cubs games, and I don't know. It's just nice because you can go outside. It's not crazy hot, and it's just nice atmosphere.
Okay, so what you're telling me now is that the reason why
I see.
Yeah, the reason why you like Chicago on the summertime is simply is a perfect temperature.
Yeah.
What it is, and you like to go out for walks and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me, what is your favorite thing to do on a perfect summer day that is not too hot?
If I'm doing something fun, I think Wrigley is really fun in the summer, like Wrigleyville. So you can go to a Cubs game, and there's outdoor bars. It's really fun.
Okay. So that is actually the main reason why you like Chicago that much.
Yeah, Wrigley. I love Wrigley.
Right. I get you.
I don't like baseball though. I don't just like the atmosphere. I don't really care about the game.
Okay, I get it. The atmosphere is more about the vibe with people being happy, basically. Yeah. So happy gives you energy, I guess.
Yeah. I see what you mean, because it's you're asking why. I get it.
And it doesn't feel like an interrogation because I'm curious about what you actually think.
Yeah.
So we went from, what do you think about Chicago? Because it might sound, from an objective point of view, it might sound like a normal conversation. But in order to be able to do what I just did there, you need to form a habit of hearing the words that you're saying. Once you have the habit of taking the words, to listen to the words that you are saying, I can actually take that and really finding out what is the relationship to those topics. I mean, if you say, I like the summertime in Chicago, I don't know what that means. I'm seeking deeper meaning, and I also relate myself into that meaning. And that is the area where women and people in general really, really feel good. You have to take it into depth, because suddenly, wow, we are now talking about the things that actually matters in my life. And according to all the scientific studies that we've seen, this is what women actually like to talk about. And we'll be speaking a lot about this. And when we try to predict of how many people in general know how to communicate in a proper way, interpersonally, we're talking about 1 person in 50 maybe. So if we have 1 person in 50 men that is somewhat good in interpersonal communication, then we have 49 men that don't know how to trigger real attraction in women. Yes, then how does it look? Well, women just have it. They're looking pretty, they are attractive already. All the neurotransmitters in the brain of men is just there. But then the opposite, women might be interested in certain men, but they never get really triggered attractively. And then we have this huge imbalance. And if we're going to look at human behaviors based on not feeling so attracted to someone, that is when you are right. That is when women start having bad behaviors towards the men. And that is a huge problem today.
Do you think there is a huge unbalance in attraction level between men and women?
Yes. As we spoke earlier, men just don't know how to trigger real attraction in terms of the neuro science in our brain in women. Men just don't know how to do that, while women just have it naturally by looking good. And that's a huge problem. I mean, how can it be balanced when professors all over the world and all communication experts and neuroscientists, people that they are doctors and professors in neuroscience, for example, when they see that, men can trigger women neuroscientifically, I mean, how does it look? Is no way they're going to be balanced.
You're saying if they don't learn the language, basically, to trigger it, then you'll never get there.
Basically, yes.
I had a woman on my show recently, and we were talking about how women will date men with no jobs, and the men with jobs are they're baffled at how these men with no jobs can get these women, but it's because the men with no jobs have all this time, so they learn the language of women.
So what is safety and trust in women? Well, if we go back 10,000 years ago, it might have been, or maybe 100,000 years ago, it might be a caveman protecting you from the predators in the cave. Or you're killing the bear and bringing the meat into the cave as well. But our brain is very complex. We evolve with time. And we used to call it structural plasticity, or our prefrontal cortex in our brain adapted to new environments. So if we're going to look at what safety and trust is in the modern world, it's actually more about emotional safety and emotional trust, basically. It's not about we will give you money or something. It's more about emotional safety and emotional trust. And what is linked to emotional safety and trust is actually understanding. We tend to feel safe with people that understands us. We trust people that understands us. And now we're going into the area of empathy. Empathy is extremely important for men to be able to utilize.
What do you mean by empathy?
So when we're talking about empathy, so what is empathy? Maybe many people doesn't know what empathy is. Empathy is actually based on understanding. People get it wrong. People get it connected with compassion or sympathy. You see, empathy has nothing to do with those parts, actually. It's more about just understanding. So if I could understand your situation based on being on your shoes, then I have a certain amount of real understanding about you. And if I can communicate that I understand you in that way, it's extremely powerful. It doesn't mean that I agree with you. It doesn't mean that I feel sorry for you. I just understand you being in your shoes. I understand you. So that part is very, very important. And people get it wrong. People think that you have to agree with women all the time. You don't have to agree with them. You have to understand them.
Right.
And now we go into depth again. In order to be able to understand women, we have to go into depth in conversation. So we're getting back into the same loop here.
Yeah.
We have to understand the underlying reason for things. Like I did with you when we're talking about like why Chicago exactly. Yeah. Now I know it's not actually baseball, which many people think. It's actually the atmosphere around baseball that matters for you.
Yeah.
Understand? So, that's basically what I mean. I mean, psychologists and psychotherapists and all other people that knows communication all over the world knows that empathy in communication is a superpower, without any doubt. They classify it as a superpower.
Yeah, I always said the biggest challenge I had dating after I got famous was like some men would turn into fans, and it just was a very weird dynamic for me on a date. Do you know what I mean? It was just like I'm taken now, but like before I was like I did not like that because it was just weird. I'm like, what are you like how am I like could you talk to me normal? It's funny the thing or so, yeah. Yeah. Well, it was just I guess at the time they would come in with these goggles like I could do no wrong, and I just felt like it was too much for me to live up to, you know, because I'm like I can't I'm like a person, you know, like I'm a normal woman, you know. That's kind of the weird thing with fame is sometimes people come and they interact with you like like you can do no, and this is men and women, but if they're fans, it's just a weird like dynamic to have at times.
Basically, again, if we know what attracts women, we should actually lean towards doing that to attract women. And I think that it's actually, you know, counterproductive and constructive if you go with other areas that actually doesn't attract women. It's just like another gimmick and so on. So there are two factors here. It's like learning how to have empathetic conversation with women, with people in general. It's also giving your brain the power of evolve. You see, you'll be able to have a better cognitive function because of your cognitive engagement with people and so on. So your brains get smarter, have stronger emotional intelligence. Everything gets up. If you don't learn that, you're learning other things, such as routines and gimmicks and so on. You will be good at that particular thing, but your brain will not evolve. You just create a habit on one thing, and that's it. And that doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit any guys that try to learn that one thing. And then maybe learn another thing, because if that routine is finished, I have to have another routine to pull out from the pocket. And then another routine. And then you have a guy that knows 20 routines. And that is what he's based on, 20 routines. But his neural flexibility is zero. Cognitive flexibility it doesn't increase. So he cannot handle complex ideas of having a social interaction with people.
It's almost like memorizing multiplication tables versus learning like how to multiply almost, or like memorizing information versus understanding the concept.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's basically the thing. One is triggering new neural pathways for your brain to grow cognitively, cognitive function. The other one is just a memorization. That's it. So you create the memory room and things become automatic because you remember exactly that part. But if there will be a similar part that is not that part, then you cannot even solve it.
Right.
So that's a very interesting concept in that sense. There are a couple of principles that I've seen change guys' lives completely. Okay. And that is, for example, like if they apply the mindset of being curious and to have that saying in their brain. And the saying is, if you want to be interesting, be interested rather than try to be interesting. If they learn that concept, most of the interaction with women will vastly improve, mega improve. I've seen people change their life just based on that line. Make it about her and be curious about that. Many of my clients and many guys like, really? Should I make it about her? You mean should I ask her a question? You mean? Yes. I mean, learn about her life, learn about her underlying reason of doing things. And of course, if you are the only one that asks questions, it will eventually sound like an interrogation. So you have to be part of that conversation by relaying back to yourself. Like, for example, like when you said you were in Chicago and you live in Chicago and you like the summertime and the wintertime, let's say that. Then we have to relay back to you and say, you know what, I like Chicago too in summertime. It's really nice here.
Oh. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been great. Guys, make sure you like the channel on your way out, like the video. Go subscribe to both of their channels. Subscribe to the Audacity Network. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.